Hello YouTube family, this is TongieMachell coming to you from a beautiful park. If you hear some noise in the background, that's just the wonderful children playing and enjoying themselves. You were designed for greatness, and great you shall be. Your greatness is waiting for you. Look, I moved my thing. Trying to get the lighting right. I got my shades on today because my eyes were watering from the pollen and all these trees and stuff around here. So I'm kind of trying to protect my eyes from all this stuff that's flying around in the atmosphere and the elements. Excuse me. I'm always messing with my hair. Jesus, help me, Lord. Okay, so this real TV. This ain't TV. That's what I was gonna say. This ain't TV. This is real. No editing. So, most of you know who have seen some of my other videos that I am a survivor of childhood sexual abuse. I experienced childhood sexual abuse in my younger years, well, my small childhood years when I was elementary school age, and I'm a victor. I'm not a victim. I'm a victor because I survived, and I am living my life by my own, with the help of God, the grace of God. My life is not based on my abuse, okay, but I'm using my I'm utilizing the childhood sexual abuse as my platform to help others. So with that being said, I am available for speaking engagements around the country. I have I'll leave my email address at the bottom. I'm working on my website, and if by the time you see this video, if I have it, I'll have, you know, I'll put my website on my YouTube channel once I get it all set up and everything. Well, I'm working on it anyway, and I'm also working on my book, so I'll have all that information for you as it occurs. So now moving forward, the thing that I want to talk to you about today is forgiveness. Forgive, forgive, forgive. I know you probably heard people say forgive, but I'm doing this topic about forgiveness pretty much just based on the childhood sexual abuse aspect of it, okay? Because like I said, that's my platform. So why you want to forgive? The first thing I want to tell you is to forgive because it is the best thing for you. For you. I'm pointing at you, see? It's the best thing for you. Why is it the best thing for you? It's not for him, the abuser. It's for you because it frees you to receive good. To receive good, good, good. You know, the word of God says, as a man soweth, that so shall he reap. You reap what you sow. Okay? The abuser sowed bad, so he reaped bad. Even though it may not look like, in some cases, it may not look like he's reaping bad. Maybe he didn't go to prison for what he did to you. Maybe he didn't even spend a night in jail for what he did to you. But trust and believe, he did reap bad. Okay, because he sold bad. But here's the thing, how that affects your life. If you're harboring the things that happen to you, you're harboring the hate, the anger, the disgust, the misery, you know, there could be a whole list of awful adjectives that, you know, could relate to that situation. You're harboring all these things, all these bad negative energies because of what happened to you. It's going to cause you to sow some bad. Now, statistics show that most of the childhood sexual abusers were also abused themselves during their childhood. At some point, they experienced abuse. Now, I'm not saying that you're an abuser, a childhood sexual abuser. If you are, I pray that you get help. I ask you, I beg of you, get help. But what I'm talking about as more common in everyday life, you're sowing bad. That's not to say you never sow any good, but you're sowing a lot of bad. And here's an example. Let's just say you're this wonderful sister in the church. We're going to call you Sister Such and Such. Or your friend, not you, somebody you know, Sister Such and Such. In the church all the time, just as sweet and kind as she can be, or he, and just just wonderful, just beautiful, loving, kind, nice, always there to volunteer, always there to help people out. And people think, oh, sister such and such is so nice, so sweet, dude, just as sweet as sugar. Then sister such and such go home, and sister such and such is raising all hell all up and through her house. It's just being mean and hateful, physically abusive or mentally abusive to her loved ones, whether it be her children, her husband, her parents. And it stems from the childhood sexual abuse that she never got help for, or that she never talked about, or that she never forgave the person who abused her. She has sowed some good, so yeah, she's gonna reap some good, but that misery that goes with the abuse is gonna stay until you forgive. You have to forgive. You have to. You absolutely have to forgive. Yes, 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 yes. Forgive. Okay? Forgive yourself. You want to forgive yourself. You were not to blame. Sometimes when small children are abused and they try and tell what happened to them, some are told it's their fault. Oh, you wear them little shorts. I told you not to be going over there, you know, by him. You know he'd be touching on little girls' booties and stuff. You didn't want him touching you, or you shouldn't have been over there. You know what I mean? Or whatever. You know, people sometimes, when they don't want to deal with the reality of what's going on, they'll just blame the victim, you know, because it takes energy and effort to figure out what to do depending on the situation, you know. And if they just don't want to deal with it, or they don't know how, or they don't want to be ashamed, you know, then it's easier to just blame the child for what happened to them. But just know this: a child is never ever responsible for an adult abusing them. Here's why. The child's mental capacity is nowhere near the mental capacity of an adult. It's like, you ever heard that saying, it's like taking candy from a baby? Well, it's literally an adult taking from a baby, from a small child. The child is not responsible. I don't care what they did or what they said or how they act. It's never a child's fault. If they were abused, if they were sexually abused, it was not their fault. And if anyone ever told you that it was your fault, I'm telling you today that that is not true. It is not your fault. It has never, ever, ever been your fault. Release yourself. Forgive yourself for thinking and believing that it was your fault. It's not your fault. It's not. It's definitely not your fault. You can free yourself from that burden of the guilt of what happened to you, from the guilt of keeping the secret. Forgive yourself. Release yourself from that. Okay? Please release yourself. How do you forgive? This is the next question. How do you forgive? You know, a lot of times pastors and, you know, people say, oh, you gotta forgive, and then they don't say how. And you're just tired, and you just, you got so much other stuff you got going on in life in general, raising kids, taking care of home. You know, if you're married, you got your husband, you gotta cook and clean, and you just got so much going on. You like, forget, what I gotta do to forgive? That's something else on the list, something else I have to do. Yeah, it is. It is. Put that on the list too. You have to take the time to forgive. And how do you do that? You just do. You just do it. You just literally say or write, I forgive him. I forgive him for all that he has done to hurt me. I forgive him for the pain that he caused me. I forgive him for the decision that he made to come into my room and do XYZ. I forgive him. I forgive myself for believing that it was my fault. I forgive. You just make a list of all that you forgive. Like I said, either do it verbally or in writing. You can write it down if that helps. And release yourself from the decisions that person made. Forgive yourself and forgive him. And my last point, how do you know? How do you know when you're forgiving someone? Right? Like, you say, okay, I forgive, because sometimes we just say I forgive and you don't, that's it. You just say I forgive and nothing ever come. You don't know if you did. Well, especially when you're dealing with a situation with childhood sexual abuse and you forgiving the person who abused you, I'll tell you how you know. And I'm going to tell you by way of story. Give you a tidbit of my story. When I was abused by my mother's boyfriend. This is one of the abusers. And he lived with us for a period of time. I was in elementary school, and as time went on, he went his way, we went ours, whatever. So later, I was working at a life insurance company my senior year in high school. So I was 17 years old, and I worked at a life insurance company my senior year, and in the life claims department. And so I received a call, and it was a funeral home verifying life insurance policy of this man. So as I'm keying in the information that she's telling me or whatever, and come to find out, it was him. He had died. It was his mother at the funeral home making his funeral arrangements. He had just died, like a heart attack or something. He had died that day or something. So I got the call, and I'm gonna tell you what, I'm gonna be honest, I was excited. It was like somebody had just told me that I won the lottery. I was excited. I was like, I know him. Yeah, child, I know him. But when I hung that phone up, I was like, oh, he dead. That's a shame. It's a shame to say, and you know what? That may not be good, but that's what I felt. I'm being honest and true. I was happy that the man was gone. I was happy that God had done took him out. And I could just talk about it now, because I forgave him for what he did. It is what it is. So so I called my mom, and I'm like, Mama, guess what? Guess who died? And I'm telling her the story, and she probably thought I was crazy, because I was like, guess who died, Mama? Guess. And I told her, and I'm saying this with all this excitement and stuff, and she in disbelief. Like, she's in shock. She can't believe that this man is dead. And she's like, ain't nobody told me nothing. Are you sure? You sure? I'm positive. His mama was there. I heard a voice in the background, confirming. Yeah, he dead. And so I thought when he passed away, I thought that I was healed because he died. I thought that, that's the end of that. So now, because I know he never, ever, ever will touch me again. I don't ever have to worry about him seeing his face again. I don't ever have to worry about him saying nothing sideways to me. Like, I had to run into him at the corner store no more. Like, oh, thank you, Jesus. Because just seeing his face would ruin my day. It would just, like, this anger would come over me. And I was still a child, so I didn't have the power to run him over with a car or nothing, But I hated him. And there was nothing I could do about it. And there definitely was no thought of forgiveness. Moving forward, years later, I was reading this book by Iyanla Vanzant. And it's called Yesterday I Cried. And she talked about how she forgave her, I think it was her grandfather, her grandmother's husband, who abused her. Long story short, she forgave him because she took the time out to identify with him, who he was as a person, the fact that he was an alcoholic, getting drunk on weekends and stuff like that, and he perhaps thought that he was showing her comfort in his own twisted way of being showing her affection, because she was being abused by her grandmother, physical abuse, being mean, hateful, nasty. She just had a really rough childhood, and I just could relate to her story. I could really relate to her story. I would actually love to meet her someday, because I could so much relate to her story. Even with going back to college, with having kids and stuff, I did that too. And so anyway, reading her book helped me to decide to forgive this man. And ironically, I decided to forgive him years after he had passed away. I didn't realize that he still had a control over my life. He still had some level of control over my life even after he was dead and in the grave. Isn't that something? Because I had not forgiven him. But once I forgave him, I was free. I was free to live and dream and set more goals. And you know, it's a release. It really is. And then I no longer harbor any hate or resentment. I even still have pictures from that my mother has. She's since passed away, and I still have pictures of him. I actually have pictures of this man in my house, pictures that I inherited, you know, from my mother's photo album and stuff. I didn't burn the pictures. I didn't even think to burn the pictures because I'd already forgiven him. And yeah, so that's how you know when you really have forgiven someone for what they did to you, for the sexual abuse, or you know, causing you pain and hurt and shame and all that stuff, is that you can talk about them without it making you angry. If you're in their presence, it doesn't ruin your day. If you run across them in Walmart, you're not, you know, trying to hurry up to your car so you can run him over. So that's how you know when you've forgiven him, or the person who abused you. You've forgiven them and it's working. You can they no longer have that effect on your life. And being the case, they no longer have the authority to write your story, because God allows us to live the life that we want to live. God, you know, he knows your destiny. He knows why he put you here. He knew the purpose of you. He knows the purpose of you being here. But if you harbor all of the guilt and unforgiveness and stuff of someone else's decision to bring harm, hurt, and danger to you, if you decide that you're going to hold on to their decision, to their actions, instead of forgiving them, then you ultimately decide that you're allowing them authority to write a part of your story, to write your story, and to have a say in your life. Like I said, in my case, I was still harboring resentment for this man, and he was in the grave. He still has some impact on my life. Like, I wasn't being true to myself. I wasn't even being true to my mate and relationship and all that stuff because of unforgiveness that I held for this man. And it just, well, it got better. I'm just say that, just summarize, it got better. Things got better. I got better after forgiving. I released myself to live an abundant life, to live and not die, to live and not be on any type of abuse, not abusing any type of drugs, alcohol, sex, none of that stuff. Like, you don't have to abuse yourself because you were abused. And I'm telling you, a big step is forgiveness. Try it and tell me how you like it. So with that being said, again, you were designed for greatness. Great you shall be. I apologize for the lighting out here, but anyway, you were designed for greatness. Great you shall be. Your greatness is waiting for you. I am available if you would like for me to come to your church or organization, women's conference, anything like that. I give a dynamic presentation. I make it very it's entertaining as well as it's good. It's good. And I can give you references if you need references. But anyway, you can send me an email. My email address is TongieMachell, TongieMachell @gmail.com. You can send me an email, and I can get a phone number to you. And I'm working on my book as well and my website. So, and I appreciate any and all if you want to give a contribution to the ministry or to my mission, or if you like for me to come to your, speak at your event, I'll be more than happy to oblige if my schedule permits, and I hope it does. Okay, so peace, love you to the moon and back. Bing.